So when I speak with people, I speak with a lot of people, one of, I think, the most common dynamics that come up in the human world is doubting yourself. Even if they're not conscious of it, they spend a lot of time thinking, is this the right way, or is that the right way? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Am I enlightened? Am I not enlightened? Am I free? Am I not free? Like, there's lots of things that come up for people, and they then spend lots of energy circling in that. So circling in those ideas and circling in those thoughts, and they believe in the thinking world that they are going to find solution to it if they think enough. So you'll finally work out if your partner is an asshole, if your partner is wrong, or if it's your fault or their fault, or if they're a narcissist or not a narcissist, or if they're guilty or not guilty, or this happens or that happens. Or you should make this choice or not make that choice. You should do this job or shouldn't stand up for yourself, or should or shouldn't, or should or shouldn't, or should or shouldn't. And on it goes. And in the end, you're never going to find resolution in the thinking world. Thinking was designed in order to aid better decisions, but making decisions and making the right decisions isn't actually what you're looking for. But that's what the mind gets obsessed with believing it's looking for. Like, so it thinks, I am looking, it's not conscious of it, but I am looking for a better relationship, and that's going to give me happiness. Or I'm looking for more peace in my job, and that's going to give me what I'm looking for. Or I've got to be more assertive, and if I was more assertive, then I would be more peaceful. Or if I understood non-duality, then I would be more peaceful. And the person fails to see that this is all in thinking, that this isn't ever going to get anywhere. It's just going to get to more thinking. Like, how can your thoughts ever bring you to anything? So you have a thought now thinking, I'm going to be more assertive, and when I'm more assertive, then I will be more happy, or I'm going to get more clothes, and when I look better, I'll be more happy. And those are thoughts that are arising now, and then you believe that in the future there'll be a destination that you arrive at, that you'll do these things and you'll finally get to a place of happiness. But if you really look at it, what you're actually doing is you're encouraging your neural pathways to create more thoughts and to think about it more. So it's like you're giving yourself rewards by thinking about these things, because as you imagine yourself, getting more clothes or doing this or doing that, you get a drop of pleasure, and it creates your brain to fire more, is it neurons? Yeah. And then you think that that is going to find you resolution. But in a way, what you're doing is you're training yourself into bad habits. Just like every time your dog barked, you gave them a piece of chicken, then eventually they would think, like, if I bark all the time, then I get chicken, like, waf, 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 chicken. Which actually I do with Khaleesi at the moment, and it works. What happens is she's on the balcony and then she barks at someone, then I say chicken and she comes running. But she doesn't actually get into this habit currently of just going out on the balcony and barking, like, oof. It's only when people are coming. But it's not a good training practice in the end to do that. And it's the same with your thinking process. And what it does is it also creates doubt, because then you think, if I get it wrong, if I don't do the right thing, then I'm in doubt, like I've lost something. And you begin to get more obsessive with your thinking. This is over long periods of time, and you think harder to try and get to some form of solution, and you're never going to get there. So what is it then that is the freedom? Like, if it's not in this thought-bound world where it's about you getting to something, then where is this freedom, Khaleesi? I don't know if you can be seen on the screen being incredibly cute. Khaleesi. No, you can't see her. Yes, sorry, got distracted. So what was I saying? So what is it that you truly are? Like, what is here that never leaves, that's free already? So you're always striving in thoughts. This is it, that is it, this is it, that is it. I've got to do this, got to be that. But what else is free besides these thoughts? It's what's always here, this moment. Like if we just ignore this idea of consciousness and I am, which is an idea, like in the end they don't exist either. All that exists is unspeakable. It's this. So if we just come to presence, this moment is always here. It never leaves. You can never get out of it. You can only imagine yourself getting out of it, but you can't. That's only an imagination. Even if you ran to the moon now, like ran into the sky, ran up through the sky and then got to the moon, you still wouldn't escape this moment. It would still be like you're on the moon. You'd be like, yeah, I didn't get to the future. I'm still in this moment, just sat on the moon. So that doesn't work either, does it? You can't ever escape it, ever. It's all you ever have. And this moment is made of two things. Right? Or this moment contains two things that never leave, but they're not really things. And that is watching. Like it requires a consciousness. Like if there's no consciousness, then there's nothing. So there's no moment, there's nothing happening at all. So there needs to be consciousness. And there needs to be this sense of existence. And I presume also actually maybe there needs to be three. There needs to be things in order to be conscious of. But actually you could begin to see that consciousness and the things are simultaneously. There's no consciousness of. Like the whole world is consciousness. But these two are what always remains. Is there's always consciousness and there's always this sense of being. And then in that, everything comes and goes. And this consciousness and this sense of being is not moving and is simultaneously moving. So nothing is happening and yet everything is happening simultaneously. Yeah. And even though you might understand that intellectually now, that isn't actually what's being talked about, because that again is in thought processes and something that will come and go. So if your understanding of non-duality is just intellectual, you'll know it and then forget it and know it and forget it. So there's something else as well. So something that can hear this that's not actually hearing it in time, it's hearing it instantaneously, and it kind of resonates with the truth, even though it is the words and it is everything, and that kind of sounds really separate, but it does. Like when you speak the truth, there's like a vibration that happens where it's like, yeah, celebrate good times, come on, do 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 do. Do, 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 do. That felt good. Boop. Try. Do, 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 do. You just have to imagine the song. I can't actually remember how the hum goes. Do, 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 ba, ba. Yes. So that is who you are. That's what happens to the humans, not to the dogs, because they're too stupid for it to happen to barely any other animals, because they haven't got intelligent thinking, although intelligent thinking looked at from a different angle could be seen as absolute stupidity as well. And that these guys that we call stupid are actually highly intelligent. Although sometimes I have to really question it with Khaleesi. Sometimes she does things where I'm like, don't you eat? So because of the high intelligence in the humans, they can perceive things that go into time. So you can remember this body in a previous place. That didn't always happen though, so that can't be who you are. So when you were 1 and 2, I don't think that happened. I think maybe around 2 you began to perceive that you could exist before, even though that's not true, but you began to imagine that you could exist before. So we can imagine this is so crazy that there was a before Lisa, and we can imagine that there is an after Lisa, before and after, boop and boop. And we identify with this. We identify with this before Lisa that never exists and this after Lisa that never exists. And we think that that's who we are, that we're sitting here now and we are a before and after. So we have this constant running image in our head of being an imaginary character. And a lot of people have a bit of a negative image of themselves. So they identify with this person and then they have a negative image of who they are. They might think they're not good enough. It often ends up being negative because thinking tends to be negative, because the way our thinking works is we evolved to look at our environment and see a problem and then fix it. So the fixing part is positive, but when we believe we're a thought, then we become negative because we're a problem that needs to be fixed, which a lot of our thinking is about how we can become better, how we can evolve, how people can like us better, how we can shut somebody up and put them in their place, whatever it is that we're thinking about. But we're constantly identifying with this past and future image of the self. Whereas really there's just the present moment of yourself. And it doesn't mean that the present moment of the body-mind mechanism, so sorry, I went and spoke in two different levels then. So when I said that there is only really the present moment of the self, so in this present moment there is an appearance of self. And what that appearance of self is your biological conditioning and genetic conditioning to date. So there's an illusory Lisa that appears in this moment. So say if a friend said to me, would you like to go on holiday to Ibiza this summer? Then there can be an imagination of this Lisa character going on holiday with a friend and then booking the tickets. And say if someone was really rude to me on the street, then there will be the biological unconditioned reaction to that person, which this is what you could call Lisa. But this isn't who you are. Identification isn't that. And a lot of people think that is identification, and they're always trying to improve that. So they're trying to become the perfect human being, which in the human world is logical because the human is always looking to perfect its environment. So to perfect itself is in a way a natural thing, but it's impossible. And it will create a lot of suffering because you can't do it. In a way, you are perfect. So what the suffering is isn't your biological and genetic conditioning that's responding in this moment. It isn't the imagination of this body-mind going to Ibiza. It's this energetic identification with that. And that energetic identification with that creates a smallness. It makes you, so it makes your beingness and your consciousness feel small, like it's locked inside the body. That sounds really weird, eh? But it makes it feel like you are that biological and conditioned response happening, and it's inside the body, and that is who you are. And then that leads to seeking. It leads to an element of suffering because you feel small and you feel limited, whereas your essence is unlimited. And that's why you vibrate with joy when that's said, because your essence, who you are, is limited and is all things. But feeling small is uncomfortable, so it creates something called seeking. And that seeking is looking for your freedom, which is this present moment, in pleasure and avoiding pain. And that could be anything. That could be being the perfect person. So that could be the idea or the dream, getting a big house or getting a dog, just like Khaleesi, and avoiding pain. And it's this energy that arises inside the body. You feel narrow, you feel limited, and then you're trying to find rest in time. And it's constantly churning away. And that is separation to me. I don't know if I'm talking about the same things as other teachers. It doesn't really matter. It's just my interpretation of it. And that interpretation it's coming in the moment, instantly out of Lisa. So in a way you could say it's coming from the divine, but also everything from you is coming from the divine. It's not like I'm like God and you're not. It's everything is coming from the divine. So it's instantly coming out of nothingness, this message, but it's coming through a filter of Lisa, which has particular conditionings and genetics. So the way in which I speak about this is from previous teachers that I've listened to and been with and spent a lot of time with. So Roger Castillo, Tony Parsons, Ramesh Balsekar, Sangharakshita, which is the foundation of the Western Buddhist order. They were main teachers. I'm sure there's more on there. And so you can hear that flavor in the way that I speak. So that's conditioned from there. And then it's also conditioned from my particular awakening experiences that happened as well. So it comes through all that interpretation. But it's spontaneously coming from this moment. So you could say in this moment, consciousness is speaking, or life is speaking, but also their life is speaking. It's not like I'm some special life speaking to you. Oh, yeah, here comes the word of God. The word of God is everywhere. The word of God is in the dog poo, it's in the fart, it's in the beauty, it's in the sunset, it's in everything. You can't escape it. God is always speaking to you in everything it does. It's just that when you're identified with limitation, you think everything is happening to you and the actions come from the past and are going to the future and it's your life and you are separate. Whereas that is not the case. No. So what is the answer then? So Lisa, you say all this stuff so eloquently. What is the answer to all of this and how do I stop being separate? This is unknown. It is unknown how that breaks. At some point it breaks and we don't know how to do it. If we did know how to do it, that would be, you'd be like a billionaire. Everyone would be like, please give it to me. And then secondly, who does it happen to? Like in another way, it never happens. It's always, you've always been free. You've always been this consciousness. You've always been this expansiveness. So you've never not been that. You've just seemingly been that. So in a way, it's something that hasn't, or it does and doesn't happen. Because right now, even though you might think that you're a body mind listening and that body mind might be like, when is it going to happen to me? When's it going to happen to me? Actually, that body mind's not listening. That body mind is a film playing. What's really listening is consciousness, which is still ever present, never moves, never suffers, never identifies. It's just that energy seemingly identifies. And it's different. It seemingly shifts for everybody differently. For a lot of people, it seems that they get interested in this subject and slowly through time, they become more balanced as a human and they stop grabbing on to all these big pleasures. And there seems to be a letting go that happens, a surrender that happens. But this doesn't make you perfect. It might make some people perfect. It might make some people enlightened, like on the human level, but I'm not enlightened. So I don't want people coming in with the false idea thinking that I don't get angry. I do get pissed sometimes. I can be grumpy. I can not like losing games. I could be kind as well. I could be nice. I could be generous. I can also be stingy. I can be all these things. So Lisa isn't enlightened, but I'm open because there are some people that call themselves enlightened and say they have no dynamics left. I'm open to that being a possibility, but it certainly doesn't happen here. So I don't want to sell you anything false. Lisa can be a shithead. She can have shadow. She can have unconscious stuff and working its way out. And to me, that's not identification, but to some people that might be considered identification. And I don't even know. I could also have some old seeking habits appearing as well. It's too hard to tell. Yeah. And also, I think that a lot of people come into this with a false idea that they're one day going to be perfect. And I think if you believe that, you're always going to be seeking for the rest of your life, because you're going to be believing that enlightenment, even if it's very subtle, has something to do with your behavior. And so you're going to be looking for it in time, whereas the freedom is never in time. The freedom is here. So if I've been a shithead to someone, if I've been rude to someone or grumpy to someone, I don't sit there and beat myself up and think you're not enlightened, Lisa. That doesn't even occur to me. It's just anger coming up. It's anger getting acted out just in the same way joy gets acted out. And there could be old seeking patterns in it, in the sense of, like, in the past, that anger would have, like, made me really insecure and done all these things. And there could even be that. Who knows? It's like you have to get your microscope out and look at everything. And I can't tell these things. I don't know who could possibly tell these things. But there seemingly is some point where an energetic shift happens, where that no longer is you. And there is this connection to source, which is no longer broken. Even though there was always connection to source, it was hidden before, it was locked in a cage, and that stops happening. But from my own experience, it doesn't suddenly make you shitting rainbows. But for some people, they report it does. Ploop, ploop. I got told when I was, on the spiritual path by a teacher that when I woke up, I would get rid of my dyslexia, because the dyslexia was some form of identification, and I would stop being so clumsy. I think I also have something called dyspraxia, which sometimes comes with dyslexia. It's like not fully coordinating. So your brain and your hand don't fully coordinate, and so sometimes I spill a lot of things. A lot of the time, if there's something that can be spilt, I will have a good go at spilling it. That seems to be the way. And I got told once that when I was enlightened, or when I woke up, that would go. And it never went. So that could mean that I'm just really deluded and there's no awakening here. Or it could also be that that's bullshit. Who knows? And who cares? Who cares? When you know who you are, who cares? This is it. This is it. Boo, boo, boo. Boo, 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 boo. This is it. Who cares? Who cares if you are or not? You only care when you want to be something. You want to fit into a jar and be like, enlightened, read the badge, Lisa Cairns, enlightened. Who cares? It can be a bit annoying when you're a teacher and people are like confronting you about it all the time. And I can understand why teachers like sometimes present it, because, like people could be so difficult sometimes when they're asking questions and they're like looking for something and they're judging you. You're still seeking, you're suffering, and they go at you like that. So sometimes it might be nice to just like be like, yeah, you're not annoying the crap out of me now. You can't touch me, but people can annoy me sometimes. Not so much anymore, but when I used to do more live talks, sometimes people could get so reactive. They maybe get reactive on live stream, but at least they could just shut it off and they can't suddenly be like, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. Just one moment, just let me finish what I'm saying. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, but. And then you have to sit there like, yes. Otherwise the whole audience has a revolt, like trying to say to the whole audience, this is really annoying me, this person. Otherwise the whole poet, but you can't say that! Do you hear what she's saying? Like, you have to be delicate when you're doing live talks. This is why I love doing it on the internet, because you don't have to audience control. You have to kind of audience control when you're in a big audience, because if you have rebellion, which I have had before, it's quite disastrous if you have too much of a rebellion. That hasn't happened so often, but sometimes people can really ruin the talk, make it impossible. Yeah, okay, well, I think I've been on a big monologue there, haven't I? Okay.